coming up on the Social Grenade podcast.
That doesn't mean it fits in your process. You might find that the second tier, even the third tier tool fits in your process a lot better. Because how do you know what tool's going to work if you don't even know how your people can work? You're not going to miss the boat as long as you're testing stuff and you're trying things internally. You'll be fine in the long run. The short term, you've got some time. It's going to be really tough. They're going to be grasping at straws. Don't reach for a straw and grab a knife. And in my opinion, the next 10 years of our lives are going to be basically the last 100 years of everybody else, because that's how fast, like, we're fixing it in a world, and I challenge people to argue with me on this. We're not going to have websites pretty soon. We're actually getting back into more of a dynamic brochure catalog site from the AOL and the Yahoo days. I don't think people realize the seismic shift that will be happening.
Hey, welcome to the Social Grenade podcast, where we talk all things social media, automotive, marketing, all of those fun things. And today I got to ask a friend of mine, Chris Slaydon from Dealer Blue Sky, to join us and join our conversation about what's going on in automotive and how did we get where we are today. So welcome, Chris. I appreciate you.
Hey, Robin, how are you?
I'm good. It's cold in Missouri today, but it'll be okay. I think we're getting ready to get warmed up a little bit.
Absolutely. It's a little bit cold in Texas too, so don't worry.
I was there yesterday. I was in Austin yesterday, had to fly in, and we're working on the Women in Automotive conference for July 26th. And we were looking at the venue. We're in Austin and at the Renaissance. And it was like, they were like, oh my gosh, it's freezing here. And I'm like, well, it's warmer than it is in Missouri, but.
Yeah, cold in Texas is a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, tell us about Dealer Blue Sky and what services y'all offer to the dealership community, and like where your guys' sweet spot is and the perfect client for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Dealer Blue Sky was a company we formed about two and a half years ago. So we've been in business about 30 months. We initially started off as a service-based agency to be able to serve all dealerships in everything from marketing operations. So everything from digital, traditional, all the way down to sales and operational training. Part of that is we've also created some marketing revenue operating systems that has been our primary platform, called our RAIN platform, which is marketing automations, AI, a lot of different insights that we believe are going to help dealers out in the future.
I love that. And so Dealer Blue Sky just kind of means what? Like when you named it, you were thinking what?
Well, when we look at it, I was a former operator for about 15 years and had a pretty successful dealership back in the day. Blue sky is a term we use in the automotive industry to talk about what the value of your enterprise is. Enterprise value in different businesses. We call it blue sky. So when I was looking at forming this company, we thought about what are we really trying to do? Because, most marketing companies are talking about leads, sales, clicks, all this other stuff. We actually look at how do we increase the blue sky value of a dealership? Because I don't think many dealers and operators actually think about it through those lenses. They look at it like, they look at, grosses, PVRs, they look at unit counts, they look at zone reports, but really at the end of the day, our net worth is who we are. And so your blue sky value is what you need to be looking at all day. So we took that tack as part of our vision and our mission statement.
I love it. So how long ago has it been since you've actually worked in a dealership?
Been about 2.5 years.
Okay. And so you came from a dealership straight into Dealer Blue Sky?
Yeah, I wasn't at the time thinking about doing a marketing company. We'd done really well with our marketing at our dealership. That dealership had been there for about, when I bought it, it was selling about 12, 15 vehicles, and it was up to a top 25 dealership in the entire United States when it was ended up selling. So did pretty well, 100% digital. About our average customer is 350 miles away. And we got really good internally with marketing. Once we had a disconnection event, we sold the dealership, and I ended up leaving the dealership. We ended up looking at, what's out there in the marketplace. What do we think dealers needed? And we had been very successful in technology before. I got a couple of technology exits in the automotive space and in other spaces. And when we were looking, we didn't know where the playing field was going to be. So we actually decided to leverage all of our marketing prowess and end up doing the marketing Dealer Blue Sky so we could actually see what dealerships actually needed going forward in the future. So that was one of the reasons why we actually started with this service-based business, is to actually see what services and what leverage dealerships needed going forward.
So then, like, where did you pick up your first client then? Because, like, I'm always like, I love telling like that story of me getting our very first client. She didn't know that she was our very first client until we had been in business for 7 years. And then we told her, we're like, you were client number one. She was like, no.
Yeah, no, absolutely no. It was actually Cavender Auto Group was our very first client. So they were with Rob Cavender over there. He had just taken the reins over as the COO. So he was looking at doing some different things. And that's when they started sprouting up, very big socially and whatnot. So they were our very first client.
And so, like, today, how many dealer clients do you guys have?
We're a little bit over 200.
Nice. And that's got to be like a big ass operation, like maintaining 200 relationships.
It is, and what we're looking at, at the end of the day, relationships is what matters. Marketing companies, I can tell you, 80 to 85% of marketing companies will do a good enough job. And then there's about the 10 or 15% that really have something unique. But mostly at the end of the day, it's a relationship and a partnership. It's finding out who you speak better to and with. And sometimes they just don't match up, at the end of the day. And what we've found over time is that it's really good to monitor and manage the relationship before the sale actually commences. And knowing that, because a lot of companies are, they just want to sell. And at the end of the day, you have high churn, high turnover. But since we're very high touch point and, what we do is very, very integral, we're almost like a person in the dealership that works in the dealership with them. Having that camaraderie and that personality fit is actually the most important part. So yeah, from a scalability standpoint, it's extremely difficult to manage. Sometimes personalities don't mesh, so sometimes if we're not seeing the results we need, and sometimes might not be like something's not effective. Sometimes it's just communication methodologies. And so switching the voice that's talking to the dealer or having them does a whole lot.
I agree. So we have, at SCP Agency, we do organic. Mm-hmm. So organic is literally like, that's 100% relationship bound, like, right? Like you have to be like, what is the flavor of this dealership? What's going on there? And you have to, I don't even know how companies that offer organic do it and never go on site.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it and not be on site and not go and see what does the town feel like? Because, there was a time, way back, I'm going to go probably 2016, there was a Kia store in El Paso that had just came out of the ground. They built it out of the ground. It was called Integrity Kia. And, they were a brand new Galleria store. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And, we were doing all of their social from the ground up. And then one of the first things that we did, and I hadn't been to the store yet because it hadn't been built. So it got live before I could get out there. And so we did a cutest kids contest just to kick that page off because, man, like the kids and dogs people will play with. And I needed to get their social going right off the bat. And so the graphic that we created, this is my failures. I like to tell on myself more than anything. The graphic that we created is like cutest little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl with this cute little dress on. It was like, drop us pictures of your kids before, blah, 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 blah. We do the whole thing, right? And then we start looking at all of the kids that get their pictures are dropped in there. And it's El Paso. It's a border state. They're right on the border, right? So it is solid. Latino kids' pictures are like in there, and I'm like, oh my God, we missed the boat so bad. Luckily, it still worked. It was like a great campaign, but to be like that kind of tone deaf that I had not looked around and saw where it was at and visited that town and known myself. And so then it was like, okay, you guys, you have to understand, we have to know what that demographic. And there have been towns that I have considered, I thought they would be very, like, I think about, there's a town in Wisconsin. And in my mind, I would have thought that it was very diverse. And when I went and visited, it was very homogenous. And I was just like, in my brain, I would have already thought because it was a capital city that it would have been a lot more diverse than it was, and it wasn't. So I think being able to get those relationships and go on site, I think is so important. And you guys have to build that we have to build it into what we do.
Absolutely. I
don't know how to do it any other way.
Absolutely. Have to.
So you've been to Disneyland recently, I hear.
Yeah, I was.
I grew up in California, so Disneyland was our Disney park that we went to all the time in Buena Park. Was it your first trip?
Oh, no. I've been to Disneyland a couple times, and then I married one of those beautiful young ladies that is a Disney freak. So I've been to Disney World and Disney cruises just once or twice, quite a few.
I love it. My 8th grade graduation party was at Disneyland. So
Okay.
that was fun times. That's 150 years ago, but there's that. So on the future for Dealer Blue Sky, what do you see coming up? Like, what do you see? There's a lot of AI going on. And I think the conversation around AI sometimes I think for dealers is so confusing because I think back like 2 years, right? And data hygiene was like the buzzwords. Data hygiene. You need your data clean. You need all of this. And so every vendor out there was spewing that they had data hygiene options and they could clean your data. And so now we're on the AI binge. We follow these trends, of course. And I think dealers think they need AI, but they don't know what they need it for. And so I think, in my opinion, and you can counteract this if you want to, but I think that no matter what the solution is, you have to first determine what the problem is that you're trying to solve. And then go, what are options available to me, whether they're AI or whether they're not AI, that will help me solve my problem, instead of just going, every vendor that comes in and telling you they have AI solutions for you. So how do you feel about that?
One, most of the vendors that are talking about having AI solutions are frankly just full of it. Let's go back historically. You mentioned something that's very, very important. Every few years, we have these newfound trends that are going to go revolutionize our business. However, we're still selling 8 to 10 cars per salesperson. Right. 30 years later. I mean, we've had CRMs. We were going to blow up on Twitter, digital retailing. Everything is going to be great. We're still selling the same amount of cars. So to think that all of a sudden we're going to do anything different because we haven't changed. So that's right. First and foremost is that, we hear these trends. But there's two big things that are going to limit in the near future. Long term, next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be wildly more available and we'll see it. But up until the next couple of years, you're actually going to see a lot of smoke and a lot of vendor snake oil. I'll just be honest with you, because we've got two limiting factors from what dealers want. The first, and this cannot be understatement, the amount of cost it takes to actually deliver what dealers want for AI.
The I'm a Car Chick podcast is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Listen now.
It makes most companies, it's infeasible because normal SaaS has anywhere from 90 to 99% cost of goods sold margin. But when you're looking at reasoning models and all the things that take a lot of tokens to do with AI, the cost of those are extremely prohibitive to where you're in the 40 to 60% cost of goods sold. Like it's actually very, very, very expensive to do what dealers need it to do. So yeah, you can get some one-offs like some fake chat bots, and you see a lot of that stuff going on. You're not going to really see what dealers need it for a couple of years. And then the second problem, and here's the bigger one out of those, is that to actually do what dealers need it to do, you have to feed AI and train it with processes, with everything else. Dealers are absolutely horrible with processes. Let's just call it. Every operator
needs CRM and know that.
Yeah, you can just look at it. Data hygiene's part of it. Like all of this ecosystem that we've been talking about, from data hygiene to process and everything else, that has to be fed into the AI engines to be able to make it understand what it needs to do next. So the things that the massive operational capacities that dealerships are looking for is way down in the future. You've got to have processes. And then you've got to have the cost from the vendors getting to a place where they can scale it and deliver it. Now, before that, you're going to see a couple different things. We forecast, and I'll just tell you, like my agency right now, next 18 months, everybody's fired and everybody's going to get rehired because the jobs they have now will be completely different. You're not, and the way that ad agencies are set up these days are going to be completely different the next 24 to 36 months. You will not need ad agencies to place ads any longer. That is going to be a thing that is automated. We're already seeing a lot of that stuff, and it's going to keep on rapidly evolving until the placement and the tactical execution of stuff, that's going to be automated away. What you're going to see is a lot more people with strategic initiatives to help you connect all these dots, because dealerships need that more than anything right now. They have very, very low operating margins right now. We got gross compression. We've got lack of staff. We got lack of training. We've got a marketplace that's becoming depressed, and then we got technology that just throws us in a fuzzy mess. Right. So as operators, we're looking at the things that we need to do. Well, one of the things we don't need to do is worry about all this other stuff. We need to be actually concentrated on customer focus. And if we can do that, those are the tools that'll actually help people out. And so you're going to see a lot more platform initiatives. Again, like what we started, we have actually a complete operating system that monitors your gross and revenue and suggests and tells you what to do and automatically places ads. And we're moving down that route to where, again, I think that an old agency that had 500 dealerships and you needed about 100 people to run that, you're only going to need about 20 or 30 people in the future to run a 500 person thing. And that's what we're moving to. And you're going to see that in dealerships in the next 5 to 8 years, not in the next 2 or 3. They're not going to be able to cut staff substantially and other things that you hear all these sayings is, but you're going to see it in the next 5 to 7, definitely.
So just rolled out, and I haven't even had a chance to look at it or digest any of it yet. Have you taken a look at Andromeda yet?
Andromeda? No.
I haven't either. I have to block time to get back into that brain space and go, okay, I need to learn what all this out, where it's going to work, how it's going to help. But I'm super interested in that Facebook has decided to jump in here already and make this.
It's got some interesting theories into it, right? And what it's going to do. Again, at the end of the day, what I believe is going to happen is that models are going to be insignificant because they're going to get they're tailoring to the top end. What you're going to see the biggest difference is the ones that have the quickest way from idea to implementation. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think is we're going to see in the future is the ones that are going to win, whether it be ChatGPT, another LLM, Grok, Andromeda, whatever it is. It's the whole thing. It's like, hey, I've got an idea. How quickly does that turn into reality?
Right. I'll tell you, we had, I don't want to say like I'm an early adopter, but like as soon as ChatGPT rolled out in that November, what was it, 22 or whatever?
Yep.
Like I had my account like immediately. And then a good friend of mine, Jeff J. Hunter, he had a big offshore team in the Philippines that were just VAs. He had virtual assistants. He like got on a plane. He flew to the Philippines and him and his team like how do we learn about this thing? What do we do? And so he started learning how to build personas. Yep. And then in January of 2023, he calls me and he goes, okay, I think I've got this dialed in and I want to test it out on you. And I'm like, okay, what? He's like, okay, we're going to build your persona. Who's your customer? Give me one of your dealers, whatever. And like, we just walked through all of that. And so we've been in it, using it, not as a creator, but in it, using it like since then. And then I started building out an AI team this year to go, okay, let's look at now, how do we create stuff that will eliminate stupid stuff that we're doing, right? And getting your team to think AI, to think like that is hard. Yep. Because like Shasta may come to me and she goes, our post-preview reports that we send to our dealers right now, I hate how they're being made. And so I'm going to do them in a Google spreadsheet, blah, 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 blah. And I said, hang on a second. Let me see if Gunnar can automate all of this. Gunnar, I need you to take the copy that we write that's in Trello, match it up with the image in Dropbox, and accordingly, whatever. And then it like pulls this whole thing into a record that will get emailed to the dealer. They approve it. If they make a check mark somewhere, it sends us a Slack message. So we know that somebody has said, I have a thing that needs to be looked at. And so getting everybody to think like, how can we automate this? It's like a brain shift, right? Like you always thinking, because we're so used to doing everything ourselves, right? So thinking about how can an automation be built? And I just put this little nerd in the corner and I'm like, I need you to learn. Every time I come across something, I need you to learn this. I need you to learn this. You learn how to do this thing. Now I need you to get into N8N and I need you to learn this. I'm like, we're constantly like in that mode. Feel like, I run out of things to do. And I'm like, bullshit, man. If you're not working, then you're learning. That's how it is every damn day. And I think that for the dealers, I mean, gosh dang it, half of them haven't even embraced social yet. And we're wanting them to embrace AI.
There's dealerships, there's too much going on at dealerships right now.
Yes.
There's way too much. And in fact, most dealerships would do better of quit figuring out new ideas and actually start looking every month, how can I trim down 10 to 20% of my costs and 10 to 20% of my processes?
I agree.
If you actually look at most dealership operations and get down, they're a convoluted mess of different managers over time. And it's just come together and it's this. And if you go ask people, why do we do it this way? And they're like, this is how I was trained, right? And we don't take a step back and go, hey, knowing what we know today, is this the most efficient way consumers shop? Or is our processes that way? Is our trade-in process that way? Is our service check-in process that way? Is our titling process that way? We're not doing it. One of the easiest uses of AI, for instance, is like take your sales process, throw it into AI, and then go, hey, map a customer journey versus our sales process and tell us where their gaps are. It'll tell you right there how customers are shopping. And that's an easy way. But then you've got to find a dealership that actually has their processes written down.
Right. That was what I was going to say. I'm like, who's going to be the person that puts their sales process in there? Because you're right, that hodgepodge patchwork quilt that they have of stuff. I don't know how many times have you gone into a CRM and you see so many broken cadences because someone else come in and changed something and they didn't think about what was going to happen on the end of that other cadence that they just changed inside the BDC. And you're like, what the crap? These are all falling into a black hole somewhere. Who did this? And nobody knows because half the time the GMs don't know how to even run their own CRM.
Well, look at this. And this kind of sums up all. I mean, your agency is an organic agency. How many times do y'all have to go search for who has the logins and the access? It's almost every other time.
Every time. It's every time.
And so we're sitting here talking about like all this newfangled stuff that's incredibly complex. Now it has a great unlimited ceiling that's going to change human civilizations, but we're still in like way early stage. Early stage. Like,
but if you think about it, because you talked about the retailing, right? The digital retailing, and that was all during COVID. We're all just going to have digital retailing and nobody's going to come in and buy cars anymore. I'm like, bullshit. There's never going to be a time when I'm not going to go in and buy a car. Like, it'll be very rare.
And you just look at this and it's just like, even dealerships now can't get online sales done. Like screw digital retailing, just the internet lead. And so we've had years of this to be prepared for. And then we had the whole COVID epidemic, what forced us. And immediately after that, it's no more. And so to think that something incredibly complex that is going to change your entire fundamental business is going to happen like this year or next. No. Now, what I do believe dealers need to do is exactly what you just said. They need to invest and just start playing with stuff. They need to start testing stuff. They need to see what operational efficiencies they can get. For instance, like right now, creative, in the next 5 to 6 months for most agencies, they've already moved down to the creative trade. We can design 100 creative in less than 10 minutes when it used to take, 2 hours to get 3 or 4 great creators, right? You can test this stuff and you can test it out. You're going to see little efficiencies like that over time. If, for instance, it's like, hey, instead of having your scripts in your template in your CRM, how about you dynamically do scripts and send out different scripts and templates based on if it's a male, if it's a female, if it's a young lady, an old man, a auto trader lead, cars.com. You can get very specific on things that you can test out and you can get more granular, because if you actually look at society and where society is now, it's becoming extremely niche, right? Because just the way that communication protocols work, how people collaborate together, we've removed barriers. So the society itself is becoming niche. Dealerships need to become more niche. They need to figure out what their market is, who they need to advertise to, how they need to make money, and who's their best customer, and then use AI to actually leverage that even more.
Yeah. And I think even if like you could find, I'm going to tell you, like, I just found a little gamer nerd that was just like doing some stupid job working at a vape shop or something. And I'm like, look, do you think that you have any aptitude for AI? And so I made him do like 2 weeks intern, not paid. I'm like, here's the thing I want you to learn, complete this thing, do this thing right here, get this thing done. And he was working remotely at the time. And I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to bring you in house and then just drill down on what you need to learn. And he'd go, oh, we're gonna need a Claude account. I'm like, there's my login for it. Oh, we're gonna need a Gamma account. I'm like, I have a fucking app. I have a literally login everything that's out there. And then we get to play. Yep. So now we're in Gemini Studio, right? And we're like creating micro apps, right? Because we want to learn how do we do the thing that moves the needle. And not because not as toy, but like just we had a project. There's 3 of us, and everyone had to come to the table the next week, dream up something that solves a problem that you can go into Gemini Studio and create a micro app, and it will solve it.
Epic BDC is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Tune in.
And so at the time, my grandson, who's 3, was in town, and he is like on that, oh my God, Groundhog Day loop. Right. He wants the same 3 books read every night, same 3 books. I'm like, I fall asleep after the second page. And so I started making him up stories because I didn't want to read those books anymore. And so I started making him up stories about these guys named Gunner and Doug, or Boomer and Doug. And Boomer and Doug had these little adventures, whatever. And so my micro app that I created was a regenerative story book. Mm-hmm. And so I built out 4 different scenarios. One with, he has 2 stuffed animals that he never goes to bed without. He's got Dabo, which is a green stegosaurus stuffed animal. And then he has Guy, who is a little blue elephant with his own binky. And so I did 3 different scenarios, one with some pets, one with family, one with Boomer and Doug, and then one with his stuffed animals. And so I made the whole thing so you could go in at the end of the night. My son Sawyer can go in and go, who do you want to talk? Who are we going to have a story about tonight? And he can go, we're going to do Boomer and Doug. And then Boomer and Doug. And then what do you want? And the next drop down is whether they're having a new adventure, whether it's a snow day, whether it's, finding something we like to eat or learning how to share, whatever it is, the scenario they get to pick. And then it generates a story with images for them. And it's 8 pages long and it's never the same story twice. It just regenerates every time and it has memory. So it'll keep them where they were at in the last time. And so that was mine. And then Lacey came up with a viral video script writer for Automotive for salespeople. And then Gunner's was a little bit too complicated. His needed a lot more tokens to do the thing. And he's like, it's not feasible. I got to come up with another one. But I think if people will get in the habit of playing with it for right now, they will get to the point where they're like, okay, I understand now. And then your brain becomes more AI focused. And then you can go on to, I can solve problems. But I think people just got to start saturating themselves with it a little at a time.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is that you just got to do it. It's kind of like, hey, if you want to lose weight or whatnot, don't pontificate about it. Just get your ass outside and start walking. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the first thing. Take your ass to the gym. That's the first thing we're seeing. And we're seeing that. And I think, if you just play around, figure out stuff, go through the learning process. Because here's the thing. Stuff is going to change dramatically. What we're doing now, just think about what we're doing now 6 months ago did not work. Mm-hmm. A year ago wasn't even feasible. And we're going to have tremendous changes in the future. The idea isn't trying to get a tool or something to be a permanent replacement. It's to learn the basics over time. For instance, we just created, we do part of our programming that we do is we do co-op for all of our clients, not just our stuff that we do, but all of their co-op. Right. We do that. Getting all those documents and getting them accumulated is a massive undertaking. However, and it takes somewhere around 80 to 90 man hours to just accumulate the documents needed for all of our dealerships. We actually automated it that last month. Took us 2 hours to get it done. So that's a 25-to-1 return ratio on something that is very easy to do. And that's where things can happen. It's when dealerships start learning, it's hey, they don't need a vendor right now to help them out with some things. Right. They can have internal processes that are repetitive, that are time consuming and repetitive. What is that? Inventory checks, things like that. Hey, reconciling schedules, things like that are basic. You can do that, and having your people start learning that stuff right now will give you full blown access to stuff in the future. We've got a couple of businesses outside of automotive, and we actually got 2 businesses that are going to scale to 1 million ARR with one person this year that are completely automated. And we sell services to different types of businesses, and it's literally one button. Once somebody signs up, the entire process is automated and they get a service, they get websites, everything else. Even their calls and how they sell and stuff is actually 100% automated. So there's a lot of cool stuff that can be tested out. But when you get to scale, it kind of falls apart right now because of the things we talked about before. So now is not the type, you don't want to build empires right now. You want to get basics and learn stuff right now.
Workflows, right? Just build some workflows. Workflows are if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that.
Yes.
Don't be going all googly on, I need agentic AI. Right now, you got to figure out a workflow because that's going to save you time and money right off the bat. And then you're going to go, okay, now what?
Well, you have a lot of people talking about AI, and they still use most of AI just like a Google search.
Yep.
Right? They've got to get that out of their mind because honestly, that's the 90% use case is the appliance use case where everybody just is using AI like it's a toaster and just getting some simple stuff. And I would highly recommend if you don't know how to prompt, if you don't know how to do actually how AI works, quit talking about how AI is what you need to do with AI in your business. Learn basics. And this is the great thing I think everybody needs to think about AI is that most people that you consider experts at AI are only one or two steps ahead of you right now.
Right.
So right now, if you look in the future and you miss the boat on AI, it's because of your fault. That, like, you literally have a map that you can get in right now and only be a couple of steps behind and learn and be very much better than 99% of the world here in a few years.
I want to tell you, I have a custom GPT inside mine that is a prompt generator that literally says, I need a prompt. I'll tell it, I need a prompt for Claude. And this is what I want it to do. And it'll give me the entire precise prompt that I need to pop into Claude to create whatever I need to do. And it's like, if you're not looking for those kind of tools, you're not out there going, but I don't know how to do this thing. Well, somebody has already solved that problem for you. Somebody has already created it.
Yeah, and what's kind of crazy is the CEO of NVIDIA came out. He was on Joe Rogan a little bit ago, and he came out, and it's been kind of verified that in the next 3 years, they're looking at somewhere between 80 and 90% of all content on a yearly basis is going to be AI generated. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about, I don't think people realize the seismic shift that will be happening.
And
so
the speed. And the speed.
Oh. And if you look at it, this just go look at all of technology on the human timeline, right? And if you go look at it, we started exploding after the 1920s and 1930s, and then we really started going after the World War II. We exploded, and if you go look in the 90s, when the technology revolutions of the dot-com era, if you just graph that over long, like, it just scales up logarithmically. And in my opinion, the next 10 years of our lives are going to be basically the last 100 years of everybody else, because of that's how fast, like, we're fixing it in a world. And I challenge people to argue with me on this, a world where we're not going to have websites pretty soon. In the next 5 to 10 years, we're not going to have websites. If everybody's in a chat, is using a chat interface, why do you need a website?
Right.
And if you look at Google in their alpha test right now, have in their new AI overview mode, they've got that in beta, but in their alpha test, they're actually doing dynamically contextualized windows where you and me, we might be searching for, I don't know, a computer, and what we get displayed to us is completely different, and the screen is completely taken over. We're actually getting back into more of a dynamic brochure catalog site from the AOL and the Yahoo days, right? It's just more contextualized, and we're getting to some of the future movie stuff like Minority Report and everything else, where you're going to be walking around and your eyes are going to be scanned, and you have dynamically contextualized AI ads that are coming out. That's the next phase that everybody, the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see a lot more dynamically contextualized ads.
Well, and if you can start thinking about, as a dealer or as a business owner, if you can start thinking about, how do I start training my people on AI, or getting them the training, or paying for whatever courses for them to even just get saturated in it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you something that was magical that happened. So Social Grenade, we picked up 5 rooftop group this week, and 3 of their brands, Volvo, Porsche, and Audi, we didn't have those graphics in our app. We didn't have any of those as a dealer before. And so they wanted to go live like in less than a week. And so normally I would be hitting up my graphic designers and going, look, I need to put these inside the app. I need those in there. Lacey went into Google or to Gemini Studio, and she created an app. Literally in 30 minutes, she created an app inside of there and said, this is what I needed to do. And I need you to grab this picture, this picture, this picture. I need you to create the graphics. They need to look like the ones that we already have right here. And she was so excited. She came in, she goes, you have to see what I did. She created an app in 30 minutes to solve the problem that she wasn't going to get those graphics back in time from the GAs, from our graphic designers, to get it done. And I'm like, that's what happens whenever you can start saturating your team with a little bit of knowledge, and then they just get excited about it and they start going, what else can I create? The fact that she had a problem that she had to solve. And I'm like, why'd you do this? She goes, I dropped the ball. I was supposed to tell them a week ago to get these graphics done, and I didn't. She goes, and before I get my ass handed to me, like, I was going to solve this problem. And she went to AI to solve it. And they were fabulous. They're absolutely fabulous. And the cool thing is that she can now take that app, and we can like give it to some of the salespeople, and they could literally take a picture on the dealership right there and then turn that into a graphic right from that app.
100%. And that again, you wouldn't get there if you didn't play around with stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where most businesses will see the most value, is like, force your team as a leader, force your team to use it. Not because the output is going to be the best. Sometimes it will, sometimes, but it's all about R&D and getting your people used to what the future of your business is going to be. Yeah. If you don't have them using the tools and found out how creatively to do things now, it's going to mess up stuff. I mean, I had one of our people 2 months ago create an app, and basically at the end of the day, it allows us to automate our go-to-market process for most of our dealerships, where it used to take about 24 to 48 hours to turn around graphics and get approvals and all that. We've got it down to about 2.5 hours now. So again, it just things like that and moving again. I really believe the winners of any AI is like, and think about what Lacey just said. It's like, how do I have this and I get an idea and how do I turn it into something tangible, marketable that I can consume, that can make revenue? The quicker you can do that and the tools that allow you to do that, those are going to be the winners at the end of the day. Like and if you look at it, like you see a bunch of different things happening right now. You see like ChatGPT is very, very good at structured data. Like if you give it structured prompts, structured data, it spits out really good. If you let it go by itself, it's a little bit messy. If you go look at Gemini right now, especially Gemini 3, they are very, very multimodal. And so they're going on a multimedia kind of spree, especially with them purchasing Nano Banana, which is literally probably the greatest thing. I don't think anybody realizes how great Gemini just leapt forward every single LLM with that one purchase and that one product. It is night and day different in the way it can handle text, which has been the biggest issue, has been fantastic. And just that in a short amount of time is revolutionary. That really is a game changer.
I'm starting to put out an image a day right now with the prompt.
Yep.
That goes, hey, here's what I created on Gemini, and here's the prompt that I used to do it.
The I'm a Car Chick podcast is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Listen now.
And you can tweak it you can tweak the prompt however you want to, like, and change your colors, change whatever. Here's the prompt you want to create it. So like, I just really feel like sharing some of the prompts with people too, because they don't know how to prompt and they're like, great, you're making all this cool shit. You're doing it with AI. I'm like, yes, but here's the prompt. You can do it too. Show me yours. Show me what you're doing.
Yep. So we've got some cool stuff that we're probably going to be releasing after NADA. And we've been working to this, and we do it very decently. We do it pretty decently on ad copy, but now we're doing visualizations. Since we have a CDP platform, us understanding who customers are and de-anonymizing data, we're able to hey, detect it's Robin, and then based on your characteristics, your behaviors, and everything else, giving you an advertisement, a graphic for that same vehicle that's different than what I would get, that's contextualized with you and your likes and interests and behaviors.
I love that.
It's completely insane because, again, all we do and we've created is just here's some apps, here's the information, same kind of prompts, but different variables. And based on those variables, it pulls in and then it goes, okay, here's the structure. How do we make it just a little bit different in detail that the message is the same, but the delivery is a little bit different?
Yeah, I love that. That. And seriously, old school marketing, I always talk about this all the time, but old school marketing is just throwing out what your offer is, and you think everybody is going to see it and they're all just going to love it, right? And you don't even know, I want to talk about organic, not paid, but you don't know whether the people that you're posting to, if you're just posting to social, if any of them give a crap about what you're doing. It's like if you stood on Martin Luther King Boulevard, because every town has one, and you said, Nissan Versus for $199 a month, and you don't know whether people on Martin Luther King Boulevard even have a driver's license, they even like Nissan, they even know how to drive, any of those things, instead of going, okay, how do I pull these groups of people in that I know are going to be right for that offer, that care about this message, and then only get it to them. And
I'm glad you mentioned this, because I don't think people really give, and you and I preach this all the time about organic social media. People don't understand its power because it's very hard to determine the ROI on organic social media. But here's some things outside of ROI that people don't understand that I think is very valuable, especially in the age of AI, where signals and behaviorals trump everything else. And if dealership operators can get in their head that signals and behaviors are the most important thing that you can have, then you have to go in, okay, well, what actually are good signals and behavior? So let's take organic social media. One of the trends me and you do not like, and we've talked about this before, is all this cutesy, almost OnlyFans content we see a lot of dealerships go into. Well, I want people to think about what happens. You put out content that gets engagement, but is it the right engagement? Is it building the brand equity for the dealership, or is it creating value for the dealership, or is it just getting likes and views? Because if I'm getting some cutesy video out there that really does not give value to a consumer or promotes our brand equity and raises it, all we're doing is telling Meta, here's more people to go serve this too. Right. And then that feeds into Google, to Facebook ads that eventually can feed into Google ads. So if you can actually make your content engaging where it's actually about your dealership. Put in the tone and the flavor that your consumers like, but make it valuable. You're going to attract customers organically, which then feeds your social media paid ads, which then you can actually, if you do it the right way, feed your Google and more high intent ads. And so it's the whole ecosystem, but organic social media is the number one platform for targeting. Forget all the other data sets, forget everything else you can do cool. If you can get your organic social media right and then piggyback that on social ads and Google ads, you'll be way ahead of everybody else. But people don't understand that. And in the world that we're fixing to be in, it is the most important thing you can do because you're not going to have control over certain things going on in the future. You're not going to, what are you going to do? I just posted this today. Google's beta test of AI mode shows, and it's fixing to be the default for their search is AI mode, 80% zero clicks. What are you going to do when you can't do a search ad in those and you can't get somebody to click through your website? How are you going to control your marketing as a dealer? Mm-hmm. What is actually important? So you've got to start thinking about these things now because it's going to be in the next 12 months. It's going to be radically different on how they market.
Well, and if you've seen in the past too, like because you've been on both sides, on organic and our paid, I know because I've seen it, that stores that have a really crappy organic presence on social, their ads don't perform as well as the ones who have a solid organic base to it. And it's just because it's priming the pump, right? It's already got people that are live and breathing on your social media instead of having to go outside of people that aren't even connected with you and find those people as leads and bring them in. If you're building a good enough community on Facebook already, you're being a voice of education, you're being a voice of leadership in your community, you're being all of those things. You've already built up that trust factor because they didn't know that their air cabin filter was right there behind their glove box. And if they live on a dirt road, they can literally just pull that off and vacuum it out a couple of times a month and do this thing. And you tell them these things other than them having to come in and they feel like they're getting screwed over by you because you keep charging them $45 for this filter. If you will become that education piece or you let them know what you do in the community, your ads now hit harder. They hit on softer ground. Right? They hit on softer ground and they hit on more fertile ground. And nobody likes that. Nobody likes the soft, squishy stuff that they can't put a dollar amount to. Yet they'll put up a damn billboard.
Yeah, and I think people, and what you just said with billboard is actually important because this is what people don't really understand. And how you just said this is very, very important. Let's say I do organic content on I don't know, features and research stuff on a vehicle, right? More people engage with that. Guess what's going to happen when we run paid ads? It's going to find people on a paid ad that match the people that are looking at research. And then it'll serve up that paid ad to people in their research phase of their shopping. And if you think about that line, that's what we mean by behavioral and contextualized ads, is that the signals that we're feeding them, the people that are engaging with it, the ads make the audience now, not the other way around. It used to be up until a couple of years ago. We made the audience with our marketing efforts. Here's interest. Here's demand stuff. Here's consideration. Here's things we want people to do and get in front of. Now that's not the case. Now the consumer in their journey is they're the driver. We used to be the driver. They're the driver. We're along for the ride. And now if you understand that, we show them ads based on what they're doing at that point in time. Like for instance, this is why most people fail at social media ads. They don't have good return on investment, is that they try to sell vehicles. Mm-hmm. They just throw vehicles out there and they go, hey, come buy me. And if you think about somebody, they're scrolling through Facebook, sitting there watching a football game, they see an ad for $10,000 off a Ram 1500. They go, I'm not in the market. I don't want to buy you. I don't know you. I don't believe you. Right? That's a lot different than somebody that's sitting there and they may have been looking at KBB or Ram website, looking at towing capacity. They saw a organic social media post from one of your dealerships in the local area talking about towing capacity. Guess what's going to happen when they're looking at that, watching that football? They're going to get served up an ad that's going to be a research-oriented ad now. That's how you build value and start depositing equity into your consumers so you can extract it later through a sale.
Yeah, it's more than just transactional. And that's the hardest thing for dealerships to get, that they have to go on that relational. They have to build this relationship. There's a Chevy store on every corner. Mm-hmm. They're everywhere. So how are you different? You sell the same product. Why would they come to you versus that Chevy store over there? A good friend of mine, Joe Webb, we handle all of his organic social for the Jimmy Britt stores. And like Chevy does such a great job every year at Christmas. They put out like these 5-minute feature films. They're amazing. And they're one of those things that just tug on your heartstrings, but keep that brand in front of you and do a great job of it, right? And they get in your. And we just went like this past week, and I grabbed all of the last 4 years Chevy commercials, and then just rescheduled them to go out and play again because they're so valuable and they're things that people will consume. And then following those, because I know they're going to consume them, my strategy behind them will be now a call to action on the next post, because I will have had their audience organically here. So I'll have a call to action on the next post that we make behind that. Mm-hmm. And it really is just kind of thinking about who are we as a store, and that, I think companies like Hyundai, who has the initiative for helping kids with cancer, right? Mm-hmm. I think that not a lot of that is known. The dealerships themselves don't make it widely known enough for people to buy into the heart side of it. And the heart side of it is like where I live. I live in that emotional storytelling. How do I get people to want to, I want to buy a new car because I want to go down to Jimmy Britt. I want to go visit with those people because I feel like they're my people. And you're on the strategy side of it. You're like, okay, I know they're looking right now. I can see all of these little antennas going up. I'm going to get right in the funnel where they're at and go right down to them. And we're at the opposite side of the same coin. And that's probably what I think what makes what we do so interesting. I mean, I love what I do every day. So I know.
Absolutely.
So tell me about how many employees you guys have right now, Chris.
How many employees? 17.
17. Nice.
Yeah.
That's a solid number for handling that many dealerships.
It's a solid number.
Right there.
Yeah, we were in a pretty hyper growth phase right now. We'll probably be at our current growth rate. We'll probably be around 400 or 500 by the end of the year. But here again, I don't expect us to have more than 30 to 35 employees at the end of the day. Maybe 50 at 500, but I don't see it with the way that the landscape is changing. Again, the talents are going to be completely different.
Right.
You're going to see, and for instance, I was talking to my graphics artist, and they're like, Chris, what are we going to do in the future when we don't have us? Right. And we started talking about, hey, this is what the things that you can do. You've got to start looking at from a 1-to-1 kind of relationship to a 1-to-many relationship. It's like, what did your skill set allow you to do with leverage to output? And so we started looking at ideas on how we can template stuff to feed different engines and what that looks like and everything else. And it's just a different thought process.
It is.
Yeah. And we have very, very hard caps in our business. I'm a very regimented operator. So when I look at things, I'm like, hey, we do not hire anybody unless we're at $500,000 or above ARR per employee. And then like we're actually attempting in the next 2 years to get between $850,000 and $1 million ARR per employee. And that's actually some hardline goals. And if we fall below that, we don't hire anybody else until we move above that. And that actually keeps our hiring practices, because what it does is it makes everything scarce. It makes us go, hey.
Epic BDC is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Tune in.
All right. What can we hire? Okay. What's the most important hire we have right now? What gives us the most leverage in our business, either internally or externally? And so it just gives us a little bit of discipline when we do that stuff.
I love that. I mean, that's a great concept. That's probably something I'll look at implementing myself.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. So if we were to wrap this up, and you're obviously going to be at NADA.
Yeah.
I will be there too. What do you see the theme at? And although they lay it out a year in advance, shit changes so fast. What do you see the hubbub and the chat being, the talk being at NADA this year?
I mean, it's going to be AI, and everybody's going to talk about AI and this AI product and this. Like everything this year is going to have something and AI attached to it at the end of the day, right? It just is, right? It's the buzzword, it's the cool thing, and everybody's going to talk about it. You're going to hear about all this stuff. I would urge, if I'm giving out this, and I'll be, probably hate it for this, I wouldn't buy a thing at NADA. Like if I was a dealer, I'm holding off investing in new products until I understand what actually I need. Because what's happening is you're seeing a lot of dealers start grabbing at AI tools without a plan. They're going, oh, I'm going to go grab this AI follow-up tool, and here's this AI chat, and here's this. And it's just like, The question that you should be asking is like, should I even have that or not? And just because it's a good tool doesn't mean it's a good tool for your processes. What I recommend most doers do is take a step back and go look at how people are shopping with you. Design your process from there. And then you have three things. It's like, hey, I need capital here. I need a process. I need capital, or I need a person, right? And that capital is usually technology. It's like, so I've got a tool, I've got a person, I've got a process. What goes in there? And just because this might be, you might go in at NADA and this might be the most fancy tool with all the bells and whistles, that doesn't mean it fits in your process. You might find that the second tier, even the third tier tool fits in your process a lot better. Before you can do any of that, you gotta have your processes down. Yeah. Because how do you know what tool is going to work if you don't even know how your people can work and what happens, right? And I look at this, and you can probably validate this with your numbers. The people with the best organic social media usually have very high close rates compared to peer groups.
Sure.
It's also kind of funny that the same people that have high close rates have better processes and have better reviews. Your close rate is actually your reputation. And so if I'm a dealership and I'm closing anywhere south of 10%, I'm not even remotely talking about a new tool yet.
Right.
Like, and if you're below 5%, you don't need to talk about anything. And you probably, as a dealer, need to be on the phone call with every single customer to find out what's going on with your customer. Sure. So do that before you get into all this AI stuff, and don't feel like you're going to miss the boat. You're not going to miss the boat as long as you're testing stuff and you're trying things internally. You'll be fine in the long run. The short term, you've got some time. Don't feel like you're going to miss the boat. So, because you can really screw some stuff up right now. You can really, because especially with dealerships and how the market is right now, the next 6 months, it's going to be really tough. They're going to be grasping at straws. Don't reach for a straw and grab a knife.
I'm going to tell you that this is a true story. So my first digital dealer I ever went to was 2015. I was the social media manager at a dealership, and I didn't come from automotive, so I really kind of just needed to be saturated by all of the things. And that first year, there was probably only like 3 social media sessions, and nobody was in them. Nobody. Chevy Car Dude did one. He was like when he was starting his YouTube channel at that time, and his stuff was, doing okay, and his presentation was horrible. Poor Mike. I think he needed his wife to spell check some stuff before he did that thing. But and then there was like 2 others that were like really nothing important, right? The very next year, we went back to Digital Dealer again. There was like, I bet 17 to 20 social media sessions, standing room only. And literally, we're leaning over to each other doing this thing, and we go, we could have taught this class. We could have taught this session. And every vendor on the expo floor had, I do this, and at the very bottom of their little flag, and social media. Every one of them added it, just like they're doing right now with AI. We do blah, 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 and AI. And so we've seen this trend over and over again. So my warning to the dealers would be the same thing too. Sit back, relax, figure out where your pain point is. Where's your problems at? Can you fix them with a problem? And every time we have a failure, I don't know if you do this, but every time we have a failure, like we get fired by a client or we've missed something whatsoever, to me, it's not ever a human problem. It's a process problem. There was somewhere in the process that we missed a step that didn't get checked. And now we have to go back and fix that. And we're actually selling one of our smaller companies right now. And the people that are buying it are like going, your guys' processes are crazy. And I'm like, look, they're solid. This all happens just like this. And that's probably, if every dealer would take your advice and go, let me look at my get all of your department heads together and go, tell me your process on everybody pick one thing. And I want to know what the process is. Write it out and show it to me. What's the SOP for that? Give me my SOP. And then they can start going, okay, but I have a huge pain point here. How do we solve that?
Yeah, we're over $200 million in exits the last 10 years, everything from automotive to technology to hospitals to other things. And one thing that we found that is the most consistent is just the boring work consistently is what makes great businesses.
Right.
I mean, period. I mean, if you want a really good run business, like learn how to watch paint dry. Like, because sometimes we get too inundated with the fancy, shiny stuff that we're chasing all the shiny objects. I'll call it the red dress syndrome. In Matrix, it's like, hey, the woman in the red dress walks by and shoots the dude. Yeah, because not paying attention. The shiny object syndrome is what kills most dealerships, because they go to these 20 groups, they go to this, and they were so competitive that we're always looking externally instead of internally. And if we can just go, hey, here's what works. We're going to do this till we can't get it wrong. And we're not going to do anything else. Then after that, we'll look at something else. But why would I want to do anything else until I can get this perfect? Right? It's the same thing. We don't take the advice that athletes, and we love sports. Most Americans love sports, and we watch them practice and do all this stuff. But we don't take the same advice. We're not Kobe Bryant shooting 1,000 free throws after practice.
Yep.
No, we don't do it until we can't get it wrong. We do it until we think it's like, oh, it'll work. And then we pawn it off on somebody. And then the process breaks because we're juggling 15 other fires over here. Right. And it becomes a mess. And it's not easy. What I'm saying, I'm not being flippant. It's not easy. I mean, you get these general managers, these general sales managers, and they've got 15,000 things they got to do right when they walk in the morning, and they're short staffed. They're getting yelled at by customers. It's a tough market. They're getting yelled at by GMs and dealer operators because margins are slipping. Everybody's getting more reports and more technology. And at some point in time, you're just like, all right, well, which kid do you want me to shoot? Because right now, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, how do you want me to fix any of this stuff? And sometimes just slowing down and figuring out what's the actually most important things, that'll get you a lot further than all the shiny things.
I was listening to Alex Hormozy this morning while I was at the gym, and he was talking about getting your scripting so tight that you could say it without reading it. And he's like, I print out 2 copies of it. Mm-hmm. He goes, and I read through it, and then I take a marker and I mark out one word on the one script. He goes, and I have to read it and know what that one word that I marked out is. And he goes, I keep doing that until the whole thing looks like it's been redacted. Yep. I just marking out one word and read it again, mark out one word and read it again, mark out one word and read it again. He goes, so that then he goes, it's not a script anymore. It's like breathing. And I have it like, and I was like, to me, that was a little bit overwhelming. I'm like, holy crap, I have hard enough time with Duolingo whenever they leave me out 2 words and I just trying to learn Spanish. But I was like, how brilliant is that for people who run BDCs or people that run call centers, or you're having your sales team that are talking to people all the time, that they know this stuff like they breathe it.
Well, I mean, I think that's so important. Like, I mean, ask a dealership if they have a base statement. 75% of their communication is going to be on the phone or text. Mm-hmm. I mean, period. Whether it's an internet lead, phone lead, it's going to be everything except a showroom visit, which is about 26 to 27% of dealerships. Everything's going to be on the phone. So if you're thinking about that, how do you start off a conversation with somebody? I know I have people coming from all over different web sources, and I have different salespeople and BDC agents talking to them. There could be 50 or 60 conflating variables. How do I know that every single one of my customers starts off at the exact same spot? And if you ask how many dealers have an opening or a base statement that tells everybody, hey, this is why we're here, this is what we're going to accomplish, and this is what we're about. How does that sound to you? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And if you rehearse that, guess what that actually does? When you get into a conversation with somebody, you get a little bit off track. You've got a lighthouse that you can swim to in the darkness that'll tell you, it's like, hey, let me get back here and get on this point so I can re-steer the conversation. We just don't have that spine any longer, that if we just practice and train, and training is not going, hey, Robbie, come over here. Let me show you what you did wrong.
Yeah.
No, it's like, hey, show me how to do this. Okay, do it again. Okay, Chris, I'm tired of doing it. I don't care. Do it with your eyes closed, standing on your head. Then we can talk about you're tired.
Yeah.
Right? Get it down. I completely agree with you.
So look behind you. You have a bunch of books on that shelf. I'm an avid reader myself.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one, what's your favorite book up there to recommend to somebody?
Oh, to everybody?
I mean, like there's one person goes, you know what? I'm a struggling GM and I just like really need your help, Chris. What would you recommend I read?
I would probably recommend, for anybody, the first book I would recommend, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know that's because I don't think people conceptualize money well enough. And if they did, they would understand it. Outside of that, I'd probably say The 48 Laws of Power is probably one of the greatest books ever written, and will do anybody in any facet of life really well. It's probably the most evil book also ever written, but it's a good book.
It's a tough read, that's for sure.
It's a tough read. It's very dense. It's a tough read.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you spending this time with me. I know you're coming off of not feeling well, and I appreciate that we got to spend some time together. It's always energizing to be in the room of people that are like-minded and are open to even learning new things, which I did today. I've got a whole book full of notes here, so I'm good. Chris, thank you.
It was great, Robin. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. As always, I'm going to drop all the ways that you can connect with Chris down below in the show notes, and follow him, follow what Dealer Blue Sky is doing, because he's one of the people in this industry that I actually look up to, and I think that they're doing great things, and I love everything about their company. So be sure to follow Chris and his company. And with that, we are out.